너 안 본 사이 많이 세졌다?
The Witch, a cinematic masterpiece praised by Korean media, this action-packed film has captured the hearts of countless viewers, becoming a timeless classic. Its influence is undeniable, and you can see just how far-reaching it is through the incredible career of lead actress Kim Demi. At just 23 years old, Kim Demi, a newcomer in the industry, stunned audiences with her role in The Witch, earning the prestigious Best New Actress award at the 39th Blue Dragon Film Awards in South Korea. Since then, she has been on an unstoppable roll, winning 6 major domestic and international awards, making her a unique miracle in the industry, a newcomer actress who won 7 awards with just one movie. Kim Demi's portrayal of the first generation, which is chillingly captivating, embodying the terrifying and mysterious traits of a dark and calculating female character that will send shivers down your spine. After the US successfully created superheroes like Captain America with its super serum, Korea, as an ally, also yearned to have its own superheroes. To make this dream a reality, South Korea brought together top scientists to embark on a years-long, top-secret gene modification experiment. During these experiments, a number of mutants were created, and the protagonist, Jae-yoon, stood out as the most exceptional of them all. At just 8 years old, she was deemed an S-class subject with an IQ of an astonishing 380. During fast-paced image sorting tests, she could outsmart computers, locating hidden playing cards in just 2 seconds. But that's not all. She also possessed extraordinary sensory abilities, enabling her to detect imminent danger and develop telekinetic powers to control objects with her mind. With her mental powers, she could effortlessly disassemble and reassemble objects, shaping them into anything she desired. To enhance her combat abilities, Dr. Beck injected her with violent genes from notorious killers. However, the results far exceeded expectations, and Jae-yoon's power became so overwhelming that the higher-ups began to fear her. Ultimately, the higher-ups decided to halt the experiment and eliminate all test subjects, but they underestimated Jae-yoon's sensory abilities. Realizing the danger, she went into a destructive rampage, swiftly eliminating anyone who stood in her way within the lab. By the time backup arrived, the lab was in ruins, and Jae-yoon had escaped, only to collapse from exhaustion on a farm far from the city. Thankfully, a kind-hearted farm couple found and rescued her. Doctors later discovered that she had lost all her memories due to severe trauma. The grieving farm couple, who had lost their son, took Jae-yoon in as their own, showering her with love and care. Years passed, and the now 18-year-old Jae-yoon had grown into a loving, devoted daughter to the couple. She helped them manage the farm, but with the business in financial ruin and her adoptive mother suffering from Alzheimer's due to her grief and aging, Jae-yoon desperately wanted to ease their burden. One day, her best friend told her about a grassroots talent competition where the winner would receive a huge prize of 500 million Korean won. Knowing Jae-yoon's impressive academic record and her natural singing talent, her friend encouraged her to enter the contest. When Jae-yoon took the stage, she captivated the audience, revealing her hidden vocal skills beneath a seemingly ordinary exterior. She instantly won everyone over. When the host asked her about any other talents, she amazed the crowd with her David Copperfield-like ability to control objects with her mind, clinching the victory and advancing to the national finals. With her remarkable talents, Jae-yoon is impossible to ignore, and her journey is just beginning. However, when her adoptive parents saw Jae-yoon display her supernatural abilities on stage, her father's expression turned grave. Her parents, who had raised Jae-yoon, knew very well that what she had demonstrated wasn't magic but a power far beyond ordinary human capabilities. In fact, the strange deaths of the farm's cattle and sheep over the years had already alerted her father to the truth that Jae-yoon was no ordinary girl. Before Jae-yoon even arrived at the farm, she had collapsed, covered in blood. They were afraid that Jae-yoon's powers would be exposed, bringing disaster upon them. Though Jae-yoon always insisted she was fine, she had been suffering from severe headaches for the past 6 months and could hear strange noises from miles away. But to avoid worrying her family, she silently endured it. On her way to the national finals, Jae-yoon encountered a strange man. The man immediately approached her, claiming to be an old acquaintance and asking if she didn't remember him. At first, Jae-yoon thought he had mistaken her for someone else and didn't pay much attention, until the man suddenly tested her, causing her to panic in fear. The man was shocked by her reaction and found it amusing. This surprised him. Seeing that a crowd was beginning to form, he decided to leave for the time being. As he walked out, he collided with a stranger. This made him very angry.
어이 덩어리, 이 집 내한테 한 소리가? 그럼 여기 너 말고 또 누가 있어요? 있잖아.
야, 잡았나 지금?
네 새끼야.
With just one hand, he casually handled a grown man as easily as crushing an ant. Meanwhile, Jaeyoon continued to shine on the national finals stage, winning the championship with no surprises. Just as she and her best friend were about to head home, a group of mysterious men in black appeared, attempting to forcefully take Jaeyoon. Thankfully, the crowd around them helped them escape. At this point, Jaeyoon began to realize that ever since the competition began, strange things had been happening, and strange people were continuously showing up. Back in her small town, the nobleman, appeared again and threatened her to go home and check on something. Jaeyoon rushed home, worried, only to find her father and her best friend's father leisurely playing chess. Relieved, she temporarily set her worries aside. Unbeknownst to them, Nobleman and his group were no ordinary individuals. They were mutants cultivated by Dr. Back. After Jaeyoon exposed her supernatural abilities to the public, Dr. Back, who had been searching for her for years, instantly recognized her as his prized S-Class experiment. He immediately sent Nobleman and his team to bring Jaeyoon back unharmed. However, Mr. Choi, the company's designated cleanup specialist, strongly opposed this. Although Mr. Choi and Dr. Back worked for the same company, they were in different departments and had long-standing disagreements. Years ago, the bloody incident Jaeyoon triggered was handled by Mr. Choi, and he knew all too well the danger Jaeyoon posed. He had always advocated for eliminating out-of-control test subjects. But Dr. Back, confident in his status as a special envoy from the headquarters, ignored Mr. Choi's warnings. He secretly ordered Nobleman and his team to wipe out everyone involved with the project. This move made Mr. Choi realize that Dr. Back was trying to cover up the secret, putting their very survival at risk. He decided to take the initiative and seize Jaeyoon in order to balance the power against the headquarters. One night, Jaeyoon, suffering from a headache, sensed someone had broken into her home. Stepping outside, she found herself staring down the barrel of a gun, while her best friend had a knife held to her throat. Surrounded by armed men in black, the leader, a man with a scar on his face, pointed to his injury and told Jaeyoon that he nearly died at her hands. Convinced that she was the witch he'd been searching for, Jaeyoon, confused and desperate, pleaded that she knew nothing, seeing that she wouldn't admit to it. The scarred man ordered his men to harm her best friend.
나 아니라니까 진짜. 아니라고. 내가 아니랬지.
In that moment of crisis, Jaeyoon instantly transformed from a timid, scared girl into a cold, ruthless witch, her terrifying powers making her best friend recoil in fear.
이게 뭐가?
At that moment, Nobleman appeared, confirming that Jaeyoon was the person he had been looking for. His excitement palpable. Their mission was to bring Jaeyoon back to Dr. Back, or else they would eliminate everyone who had come into contact with her, to protect her family and uncover her true identity. Jaeyoon reluctantly agreed to go back with them to the research facility. Once at the facility, Jaeyoon was immediately taken to the lab. Seeing his prized experiment return, Dr. Back was overjoyed and immediately ordered that the latest experimental drug be injected into Jaeyoon. It turned out that Jaeyoon, as a perfect specimen, had a fatal flaw. Without the right medication, she would die from uncontrollable violence when she turned 18. Dr. Back's action was meant to prolong her life and also to awaken her memory. As the drug began to take effect, Jaeyoon's headache worsened, and Dr. Back started recounting her past. Jaeyoon was an extraordinarily rare S-Class experiment, far surpassing her peers, and naturally possessed the demon factor. Dr. Back was curious about how she had managed to suppress her violent tendencies for so long without being discovered. However, after the second injection, Jaeyoon suddenly regained her consciousness and flashed a mischievous smile.
솔직히 기대 이상이네.
It turned out she hadn't lost her memory at all. This left Dr. Back stunned, until Jaeyoon calmly revealed that only he could cure her, at which point Dr. Back realized she had never lost her memory. She ruthlessly eliminated the guards in the chamber and fired several shots at the bulletproof glass in the lab. After confirming the glass's strength, she turned to the mirror behind which Dr. Beck was hiding, giving him an expectant smile before disappearing into the smoke of the neurotoxin. By the time Dr. Beck realized what had happened, Jae-yoon was standing right behind her.
진짜 반가워요, 박사님.
너?
당연하죠. 난 내가 누군지, 당신이 누군지 너무나 잘 알아요.
It was all part of Jae-yoon's plan. She had carefully chosen her adoptive parents as a cover, spending 10 years hiding on this remote farm. As her condition worsened, she realized her time was running out, so she thought of Dr. Beck. Knowing that only he could save her, she deliberately entered the national competition to expose her abilities and draw Dr. Beck's attention. High-level hunters often appear as prey themselves. And now, with her plan successfully carried out, she no longer needed to pretend. Dr. Beck finally understood it wasn't Jae-yoon who was found by him, but rather Jae-yoon who had been targeting him all along. To secure more suppressor drugs, Jae-yoon had no hesitation in firing at Dr. Beck and pulling him along to continue their search for the medication. At the same time, Nobleman sensed something was wrong and rushed to protect Dr. Beck, only to encounter Mr. Choi and his team along the way. Mr. Choi was skilled in dealing with mutants, so Nobleman left 2 of his men behind to hold off the group while he went to handle Jae-yoon himself. Mr. Choi's men quickly learned how to hunt mutants, but they didn't expect that mutants came in different levels, and when they faced an A-class mutant, they were unable to cope.
대가리 누가 딸래?
Meanwhile, Jae-yoon, who had Dr. Beck with her, also sensed the danger.
너 안 본 사이 많이 세졌다?
It turns out that when Jae-yoon was escaping years ago, she had spared the B-class mutant, Nobleman. Now, he had fully developed the strength of an S-class mutant, even surpassing that rank. He wanted to test whether he could defeat this naturally born S-class witch.
느리네.
Nobleman never imagined that, despite both being S-class, the gap in strength between him and Jae-yoon was so vast. What's even more terrifying is that Jae-yoon seemed to have known from the very beginning that they were no match for her. Only Jae-yoon knew this in her heart. The research facility had rated the highest combat rank as S-class, but even 10 years ago, she was already an S-class being. Now, she had long surpassed that level, so these so-called S-class mutants were still like ants in front of her. Just as Jae-yoon was about to eliminate Nobleman, Mr. Choi suddenly fired, shooting through Jae-yoon's spine and temporarily paralyzing her. This gave Mr. Choi the chance to personally deal with the 2 monsters. Seeing the tables turn, Dr. Beck shouted in panic,
머리를 날려! 그 괴물 새끼들 다 날려버리라고!
This action completely enraged the approaching A-class mutant. Just as Dr. Beck thought he had narrowly escaped, he was shot by Mr. Choi. He never imagined that Mr. Choi had long looked down on her, and now that he finally had the chance to get rid of her, he certainly wouldn't let it slip away. However, Mr. Choi seemed unaware that mutants don't die unless shot in the head, so his attack didn't fully resolve the problem. The unlucky Mr. Choi completely enraged Jae-yoon. In front of her, he had no chance of retaliating and ultimately met his end in the northwest. Next came the ultimate showdown between mutants. After regaining his composure, Daxiong knew that his strength was no match for Jaeyoon, so he used the medication as bait to distract her, while secretly preparing the A-class mutant to launch an attack.
보고 싶다 그랬지? 내가 얼마나 대단한지. 보여줄게.
However, in the face of absolute power, all their plans seemed futile. Nobleman snuck up behind Jaeyoon, but found that he couldn't fire. In Jaeyoon's domain, everyone was like lambs to the slaughter. Even powerful mutants couldn't move. Nobleman waited in despair for the witch's punishment.
이렇게 걸레가 돼도 쉽게 죽지 마.
족같아 하지 마. 내가 죽여줄게.
After eliminating all the threats, Jaeyoon successfully obtained the remaining few vials of medication, but these were far from enough to prolong her life. She left a few precious vials for her adoptive mother, as Dr. Beck's medication had shown promising effects on Alzheimer's disease. Just as Jaeyoon was about to leave and keep her adoptive parents out of harm's way, her adoptive father stopped her.
네가 뭘로 태어났든 우린 널 그렇게 키우지 않았으니까.
He hoped she could abandon her dark path and return to a normal life. This was the hope of her adoptive parents. They firmly believed that a child raised with love would turn out to be kind. However, Jaeyoon didn't respond. She simply left, said goodbye to her best friend, and embarked on a journey to seek survival. Months later, in a villa by the sea in a foreign country, a woman was looking through the experiment records when Jaeyoon suddenly appeared. She was actually Dr. Beck's twin sister, the true creator of the medication. Just as Jaeyoon demanded she hand over the formula, a girl filled with murderous intent suddenly appeared by her side. A new crisis was about to unfold.
너 언니한테 까불면 뭐가지 날아간다.
This one is called The Witch, Part 2. The other one. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy. The second movie opens up with a shot of a young girl covered in blood. She's on a farm and is breathing heavily. Around her, the cows are wailing and dying gruesome deaths. In the background, we can hear her mother's voice calling out to her. When the farm dog attacks her, the movie fades to black. A woman on a bus wakes up from a nightmare as the rest of the passengers sing along to a song. Her friend teases her for sleeping with her boyfriend, but she begs her to keep the whole thing under wraps. Some time passes and all the passengers on the bus take a nap. While they're not paying attention, the bus takes an unexpected detour from the highway into an abandoned mine. As everyone on the bus wonders what they're doing here, some men put on sleeping masks and fill the bus with green gas. They beat everyone unconscious and take the woman with them. The woman wakes up in a lab strapped to a bed. The news tells us that all the passengers in her bus were killed, and the whole thing was made to look like a crash. Besides her is Beck's twin sister, who we'll call the professor from now onwards. She reassures her of her safety. But the woman is more worried about the baby she's carrying. The professor tells her that she already knows the woman is pregnant with a girl. She tells her that her child will soon have a younger sister and many more siblings. Soon enough, Beck joins the professor and tells the woman that she's not aware of her potential. In the present day, a woman with a tattoo that reads, Tua, smokes a cigarette outside the lab. She then joins her subordinates as they ruthlessly kill experimental subjects in a lab. The only survivor is a woman named Akwon. She removes her tubes and makes her way outside through the bloody mess. We find that the lab is in the middle of nowhere on a snow field. As Arc 1 moves further away, she gets a headache, and her power starts spiraling out of control. She begins affecting the entire field around her. Whoever she is, she's the most powerful metahuman yet. On the other side, some cars make their way to the professor's house. The man leading the people in these cars is Jang, the professor's nephew. He's a metahuman as well and has come to the professor's house to discuss business matters. While he tries to make small talk, The professor directly asks him about the breach in the facility which caused Ark-1's escape. He thinks that Jae-yoon is responsible for releasing the Tuas, who raided the lab. But whoever leaked her intel is someone internal. Either the professor's side, the Alliance, or his side, the transhumanists are stirring the pot. The movie shifts back to Ark-1, who's now walking through a snow-filled forest. She eventually reaches a road and is almost run over by a car. Inside the car are henchmen of a gangster named Young-do, and one of his men forcibly put Ark-1 inside the car. Another seemingly innocent woman, Kyung-hee, is also inside the van and pleads with the men to let Ark-1 go. After repeated requests from Kyung-hee, she's beaten into submission by the men. Then they start abusing Ark-1, which is a bad move on their part. She begins taking out the men one by one as parts of the car go flying like we're in a cartoon. The car eventually crashes into a forest. As Kyung-hee comes to her senses, she begs Ark-1 to let the men go. She then calls the authorities and makes a break for it along with Ark-1. They're picked up by Uncle, who, well, is Kyung-hee's uncle and doesn't have a name, so that's what we're calling him. Uncle operates a vet clinic and when Ark-1's unconscious, begins removing shrapnel from her body. After a few minutes of surgery, Uncle is surprised to find that Ark-1 healed herself on her own. He can't believe it and looks at his glass of whiskey like, "Yeah, I've been drinking too much." After the surgery, Uncle begins talking with Kyung-hee, expressing worry that Young-do's now harassing her openly for her father's property. However, Kyung-hee is worried for the girl. When Uncle suggests they call the police, Kyung-hee tells him there's no need as she'll be taking the girl in. In another blood-filled laboratory, a woman is killing the last of the remaining metahumans with shots to the head. After she's done with her job, Jo Hyun asks her partner to send the cleanup crew and joins him outside. The foreigner chews Jo Hyun's ear out for being reckless, but she can't care less about the whole situation. The movie reveals that Jo Hyun is a metahuman as well. As she picks off bullets from various wounds in her body, her wounds heal on their own. She then settles down with a glass of whiskey and looks at information on her laptop at lightning speed, absorbing all of it. Kyung-hee finally takes Ark-1 home and, on the journey, Ark-1 sticks her head outside the window and waves at animals with a childlike innocence. When they're home, we're introduced to Kyung-hee's brother Dae-gil. He sees her sister's injuries and holds her face to look at them. However, Ark-1 mistakes his intent and is about to attack him when Kyung-hee tells her to stop. Afterward, Kyung-hee sets up the dinner table and invites Ark-1 to eat. Ark-1 is fascinated by the food because she's probably never had a proper meal at the lab. As she's looking at the food, Dae-gil gets into a fight with his sister since she disappeared and only came back when their dad died. He thinks she's pretending to care for their father's land. While the brother and sister are engaged in a fight, Ark-1 eats everything on the dinner table. Kyung-hee then shows Ark-1 to her room and thanks her for saving her life. The professor meets up with Jo Hyun and briefs her about Ark-1. Turns out that once they kidnapped the woman from the beginning of the film, they cloned the embryo inside her. Ark-1 was only one of the clones, effectively making the woman Ark-1's mother. Jo Hyun then brings up Jae-yoon and the professor mentions her last known whereabouts, the Shanghai lab, from the first film. She tells Jo Hyun that despite being powerful, Jae-yoon is still dependent on drugs. This isn't the case with Ark-1, who needs to be eliminated. Jo Hyun accepts the assignment, and the professor gives her a tracker to hone in on Ark-1's location. As Jo Hyun and her subordinates set out to eliminate Ark-1, they end up being chased by some unknown agents. The subordinate takes a detour into the forest and crashes into their car. He then takes the agents on in a fight and proves too fast and too strong for them, incapacitating them in a few moments. Jo Hyun asks the agents to tell their boss she'd like some FaceTime with him, suggesting she knows who's responsible. In the few moments after the fight, they finally pick up the signal to Ark-1's location. Back at Kyung-hee's house, Ark-1 begins hearing her mother again and has a nose-bleeding headache along with it. In her distress, she releases her power again, this time stopping time itself. As she comes to, she peers out the window to find some cars making their way to Kyung-hee's house. Young-do himself has arrived to make true on his threats, and he's not happy about what Ark-1 did to his men. The brother and sister try their best to hold Young-do's men off but are eventually at their mercy. It's revealed that Young-do is actually their uncle and will go to any lengths to get his hands on their father's land. Kyung-hee is angry at the state of affairs and calls Young-do out for killing her father. This enrages Young Do, who tells his men to beat some sense into her. As the henchmen continue to beat on the brother and sister, they're distracted by a figure on the roof. Arc 1 joins the fight by jumping down the roof and startling the men. She then punches one of them and sends him flying. One by one she starts taking them out until she has turned the tables on Young Do. The gangster, now cowering at her feet, is told by Kyung Hee to never come back again. Dae-gil is a little shaken up by the situation but can't get over how cool Arc 1 is. Jang, who turns out to be the man behind the agents chasing Jo Hyun, comes out of the shadows to meet her. They used to be former partners 10 years ago and spent some moments reminiscing. Jang then asks Jo Hyun why she's back on the hunt again. He suspects that the professor put her up to this because she doesn't trust Jang. He maintains his innocence and claims it was Ja Yoon who raided the lab Arc 1 was in. That said, it looks like the two Woos are also going to join the party very soon. They're on their way to an unknown location. As two of the members get into a disagreement, they're put in their place by the woman in sunglasses, who's inarguably their leader. Young Do isn't done either. He raids Uncle's place and begins interrogating him about Arc 1. After he's done with Uncle, he asks his henchmen to call the client who asked them for info about Arc 1. Who could this be? On the less serious side of things, Dae-gil is showing some videos about mukbang YouTubers to Arc 1 on his phone. He mentions that they can earn a lot of money if Arc 1 shows off her powers for the camera. But Arc 1 isn't interested in all of that. She's just fascinated by the food. The three then go into a grocery shop where Arc 1 goes off like a loose cannon. By that I mean she eats everything there is to offer by the stalls, giving free samples. While Dae-gil chases her around in order to stop the chaos, Kyung Hee slips away to help Uncle. She brings him back to his clinic, and he tells her to let Arc 1 go. He also wants her to give the land away to Young Do before he does any more harm. A dejected Kyung Hee walks away and sits in her car when she's joined by Jo Hyun and her subordinate. She shows Kyung Hee a video of Arc 1 killing soldiers like it's nothing. Afterward, she asks her to play along if she wants to save her brother. On the other side, Young Do finally comes face to face with the client that wanted info on Arc 1. They are the two Woos who have already taken out all the henchmen in his office. At the farm, Arc 1 grows closer to Dae-gil, who begins developing a crush on her. She trusts him and shows off her powers as the two sit under a starlit sky. As the movie heads to a climax, all the parties are gathering at the farm. Jo Hyun is going to use the cover of fireworks to take out Arc 1. Meanwhile, the two Woos are also on their way. At the house, Kyung Hee comes clean to Arc 1 about her betrayal. She then loads her gun and faces Young Do, who's outside the farm, tagging along with the two Woos. After a long-winded argument, Young Do shoots Kyung Hee and Dae-gil rushes to her sister's aid, leaving Arc 1 inside. In the background, the house is destroyed by a rocket launched by Jo Hyun's men. The two Woos realize they're not alone, and one of them moves to take out Jo Hyun's men. She uses her knives to quickly eliminate the men as they prove no match for her. At the farmhouse, Young Do is about to shoot Dae-gil but is taken out by Jo Hyun, who finally faces the two Woos. Their leader shows off her powers by manipulating a fence around her through telekinesis and killing all of Young Do's men in one fell swoop. In the ensuing fight, both Jo Hyun and her subordinate shoot at the two Woos, who move lightning fast through the air, dodging everything. Jo Hyun successfully takes out one of them but is caught off guard by the others. Lying beside Dae-gil, she tells him to get out of there but not before an injured Young Do shoots at them, killing the boy. Arc 1 finally wakes up after the rocket explosion and begins remembering the moments she shared with the siblings. She's greeted by one of the two Woos who tells her they were pretty sure they killed her. As she moves for the kill, Arc 1 stops time and stabs her in the head with her own knife. The fight between the remaining two Woos and Jo Hyun still rages on. She's pinned down by them but is saved by the subordinate who saves her with a suicidal tackle. Arc 1 finally makes her way to the farm only to find her human friends dead. In her rage, she sends a jolt of air toward one of the two Woos, tearing his arms off. The other one is slapped a mile away into a hackstack. The male two Woo attacks her even without his arms but proves no match for Arc 1. She then begins torturing Young Do. Thinking she's distracted, the remaining two Woos attack her again. Well, they're wrong. One of them is incapacitated when Arc 1 manipulates her limbs to stab her in the neck. The other one she blows up into a cloud of blood. Seeing this, the incapacitated two Woo crawls back when a figure steps out of a jeep. It's none other than Jia-yoon, the employer of the two Woos. She reveals that Arc 1 is her sister, and since she was injured she asked the two Woos to help break her out. However, they strayed from the mission when they decided to kill Arc 1. As she says this, she rips the head off of the last of the two Woos. Jia-yoon tells Arc 1 that she's looking for their mom, and since she's subconsciously connected to her, she can help. In the end, Arc 1 mourns the death of the siblings as Jia-yoon injects her with something, rendering her unconscious.